Alright, welcome to Legacy 2019. This is a match between Hardened Scales Affinity and Blue...
Death and Taxes.
Death and Taxes.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so my name is Tyrone and I am joined by my good friend Dave here.
Hello.
We're from Toowoomba and we'll be recording this wonderful Legacy match for you today. Alright, shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So I guess while they're just shuffling up, getting themselves ready for the match, I suppose we should probably introduce ourselves a little more formally, perhaps.
Sure, sounds good. Well, go ahead.
Okay, well, my name's Dave Truman. I've been playing since Zendikar block, the original Zendikar block, and played Standard for quite a while, took a little bit of a break, and I came back to the hobby around about 2.5 years ago now. Been quite enjoying Modern, more recently getting into Legacy and 7-Point Highlander.
And I'm Tyrone. I've been playing since about Theros block. Like everyone else, I started with Standard and slowly worked into other formats. I went into Commander actually first, and then finally built a Modern deck, and now I'm getting into Legacy and Highlander as well.
Pretty awesome. I think it's a pretty common sort of journey for most people, and I think it makes sense when you think about it. They tend to Wizards, that is, tends to make Standard quite accessible. But it seems to me that in more recent years, these Eternal formats are becoming a lot more popular.
Yes.
Especially some in Toowoomba. We're starting to brew our own sort of little funky formats even.
Let's not talk about that. So, looks like both players are perusing their opening hands. Let's see, the Death and Taxes player's got a few more lands than maybe he would want. That is Cameron Mann on Death and Taxes, and Logan is on the Hardened Scales deck. Logan's going for a mulligan. So I've played a lot of Hardened Scales in Modern. And do you know the difference between the Legacy version and the Modern version?
Go on. Is there a big difference or a small difference?
There's quite a few. The lands are the big difference. There's 12 lands as far as I know.
Oh, sure.
So you've got 4 Tree of Tales, 4 Ancient Tomb, and 4 Wasteland.
Absolutely.
It also runs 1 Umazar's Jade, and the default list. I don't know if this particular deck is any different, but
we could assume.
Yeah, and it usually runs like 2 or 3 Metallic Mimics, which is very different from Modern. I'm not 100% sure why that is.
Interesting. What would you name with Metallic Mimic?
Construct. 100% Construct.
For sure.
It's not bad, but it's a weird board. It's interesting. Interesting. But one of the benefits of this deck in Legacy is Stony Silence is a powerhouse in Modern, and it's in all sorts of sideboards. But in Legacy, it really isn't. Nobody plays the card. It's not enough artifact decks.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, there's so many different viable strategies in Legacy that it's kind of hard to hedge your bets against all sorts of strategies.
And they're away.
Yeah.
So, Cameron Mann on the play?
Yep. Looks like, I think we made a mistake earlier. We've got Blake Robinson playing the Hardened Scales Affinity on the right there. He's mulligans to 6. Looks like he's got a very strong opener, something you definitely don't see in Modern. Not very often, at least. You've got Ancient Tomb straight into the Steel Overseer.
That's what you want.
I would probably argue that Steel Overseer in Legacy, perhaps, one of the stronger cards in the deck. Is that right?
In Modern as well. It's the most fragile, but if it sticks around, it's insane. But absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Cameron's got his classic Turn 1 Mother of Runes.
Yeah. I'm sure he was maybe hoping for a Turn 1 Source to Plowshare if he was on any other deck, but Mother of Runes, don't know how effective it's going to be in this matchup.
Yeah, honestly, not very. Mother of Runes is pretty bad against the artifact strategies.
The old no-colour deck.
Yeah. Classic 1/1 for 1 with no abilities.
Well, here we see my good friend Thalia, the bane to every deck that I build, loving the Grixis and Esper Shards. It seems to just be a hard counter. Could get some work done here. Who do you think is going to be the aggressor in this matchup, do you think?
Patrick definitely will be. If Cameron Mother of Runes actually did anything, then Patrick might have some trouble getting through with his creatures, but Thalia doesn't really slow this deck down much. And it can just be so much more explosive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks like one of the big problems at the moment for Patrick is the lack of green mana. There's 2 Hardened Scales. Sorry, my apologies. Blake.
Yeah.
Sorry, the problem Blake seems to be having is lack of green mana. So he has 2 Hardened Scales in his hand, I believe, and a Tree of Tales. But he's decided to just put more power on the board this turn and set up for next turn, I suppose.
Yep. Yeah, making full use of that Steel Overseer, as you said, if it's left unchecked, can really make a huge difference. It'll be interesting to see if that thing stays around.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really much Cameron can do about this right now. I mean, later on, I mean, does this deck even play Flicker Wisp? Like, is it going to do much against this?
Death and Taxes should play Flicker Wisp, but it usually plays 4. It's one of the best cards in the deck, from what I've seen. Thalia gets a cheeky 2 points of damage in.
Yeah, I think this is all really Cameron can be doing here, is just, while he's got this little window before Blake sets up, just get as much damage as he can.
Yep, absolutely. And there's that Flicker Wisp.
Oh, there it is. That's what I was talking about before.
Man,
Could potentially be a little bit of a blowout, depending on the lines, but we'll see what happens here.
So the Hardened Scales player has a very interesting sequencing. He's about to play his Hardened Scales by the looks of things on turn 3, but he could have done it on any of the other turns, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's more about what you prioritise. I mean, if he knew the matchup that he was getting into,
was that a swing for 2? Well, that's very aggressive.
That is very aggressive.
Jeez, that is extremely aggressive. Okay. So it looks like Blake is really putting his front foot forwards and getting right in the red zone there. Setting up, he does not want to play a long game by the looks of things.
No, well that kind of alludes to a little bit about what I was saying just before. It's if Blake knew the matchup that he was playing, if he knew he was against Death and Taxes, do you think that's why he wanted to just get aggressive as soon as he could, get a creature on the board, try and let it stick, and build up from there?
Perhaps. Alright, Rashad and Port's doing some work.
Right.
Third Hardened Scales. Now things perhaps...
Surely he's got to play one here.
Maybe.
At least.
Here we go.
Here we go. Alright, paying for the Thalia attacks. 2 mana.
That's why I didn't play
obviously why we didn't see it last turn. Pointing to his Overseer, is he activating? Yes, he is.
Bam. Alright. Well, that Hangback Walker is now a big booty bum. big booty.
Big booty bum, he sure is. So, 5/5, crashing through. Yeah, at this point it's looking pretty dire for Cameron. Stuck on that single Mother of Runes, looking a little bit silly on that side of the field.
The single white source is looking pretty silly too. With that Flicker Wisp in hand, he could he'd kill the Hangback Walker with basically no downside, but unfortunately you just can't quite kill him. Yeah.
I mean, he's got some fortunate draws, I suppose, coming through with the Thalias. I like that he's still on the plan of attack. He's not feeling too nervous about his life total, clearly, if he's still getting in there with the cheeky 2-1.
Yeah, he's racing. He's absolutely racing. He knows how he wins this game, and that is not by playing the long game, I feel.
Yep, you play to your outs. Here we've got a bit of a decision from Blake. We know that he's got the 2 more Hardened Scales in his hand. Looks like another Hangback Walker there as an option.
For Rexian Revoker?
Yes, I believe it is.
That's a very hard choice. How do you go with this? What do you reckon?
I mean, considering the Steel Overseer hasn't been removed yet, I kind of like sticking the Hardened Scales, and that looks like what he's leaning towards, considering it's staying at the front of his hand there. Interesting little tell, if you like.
But what else? So you can play both Hardened Scales here if you'd like, because you have 4 mana total.
You do.
And then you can leave both your creatures on blocking, and then activate the Overseer, and no creatures are going to hit you again.
Yeah.
Or do you play Hardened Scales on another creature?
I think you go with the 1 Hardened Scales, and then you slam that Hangback Walker, and just start trying to go wide.
Go nuts. Well, he's certainly agreeing with you getting at least 1 Hardened Scales out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the great thing about this particular card. If you draw them in multiples, not so bad.
Real good, yeah. An engine piece that is difficult to disrupt, and cheap is difficult to disrupt, and is great in multiples.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, for those unaware, it just adds an extra counter if it would receive one. Multiple copies of Hardened Scales, though, just adds just 1 extra.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not multiplicative, it's just additive, correct? Yep.
Just some basic addition.
Yep.
So, once again, this singular planes is really causing some trouble.
Super trouble. I mean, he's got 2 Flicker Wisp in hand, another Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Pretty useless, considering he's got 1 out there.
Yeah.
So a little bit of bad luck coming through here for Cameron, and it's this Steel Overseer who's just been left completely unchecked, up to an 8/8 now. It's looking really, really dire here.
Yeah, and I think I saw a Sanctum Prelate in Cameron's hand as well, which again, double white card. There's a Batterskull as well, it costs 5 mana. He just can't cast anything.
Yes, unfortunate series of draws here.
Although Patrick is being... Sorry. Logan.
Blake.
Just
make up a name, mate. Stick with it.
Jono's being Jono's being very cautious with his life total.
Yeah. Here we go. We got a little confusion here. He's pointing at Thalia. He's forgot to play his land tapped, which means it's going to cost him an extra land that he may not have accounted for. Still has the correct mana, can still play it. It still comes in tapped with the correct amount of counters. It may have messed a little bit with Blake's plans here. Potentially wanting to cast that second Hardened Scales. I mean, probably not though. He would have done that pre-casting.
If he wants to activate his Hangerback Walker, now he has to pay life for it, is the big thing, I think.
Yeah, well, when you're at 8, it's a little bit dicey.
Yes. Yeah, Cameron definitely has draws here.
Yeah, well, what did he just draw there? I can't quite see.
That was an Umezawa's Jide, I believe.
Jite.
GP foil Umezawa's Jide.
Nice.
Interesting. I mean, that's very
Still
good,
but not when you're on 3 land.
And your opponent's got an 8/8 and a 7/7.
Yeah, what's it supposed to do, really?
Yeah, it's a bit late for Jide, unfortunately.
I'd expect that Cameron probably scoops it up here, if not next turn.
Yeah, I think this game's all that locked up.
How do you favour these decks? Just heads up.
So, I feel like Death and Taxes in Game 1 is somewhat at a disadvantage, as we're seeing right now. Mother of Runes doesn't do anything. Thalia does not a lot. It's really only Hardened Scales.
It might slow down Ancient Stirrings, a couple things, but it's not really what you want it to be doing, is it?
No, not really. Flicker Wisps are the best card in this matchup from Death and Taxes side, because all the creatures have counters, they all just get reset.
Yep.
But yeah, it's the Death and Taxes deck is playing about 8 cards that are just not super impactful, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've got an Eternal format like Legacy, where every card is the absolute best card you could be putting in your deck, when you've got 2 playsets in there which basically do nothing, you are at a huge disadvantage.
Absolutely. Speaking of Umezawa's Jide, looks like our Hardened Scales player, Jono, has drawn one as well.
Aha, cheeky. And it's a one-of, you said earlier?
I believe they usually run a one-of, yeah.
Interesting.
Now on this side, it's much, much stronger, because all the creatures on Cameron's side will get quickly swept up by that thing.
Yeah, it sure will. I'm paying the 3 mana there for Thalia, of course. No mana to equip right now. Interesting that he's holding back with his creatures here, choosing not to attack.
Yeah, and right off the top, 3rd Flicker Wisp. That's a 3 of a kind. I think it's extra points.
I mean, it's the best card in the deck, though, you said.
Absolutely, yes, when you can cast it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, it's that caveat. Interesting. So here, I mean, Cameron's not really faced with many choices.
No, unfortunately.
I think it's cast one thing or scoop.
He can port things down, but it's just a bad time.
Yeah, and here we go again. This is what we're seeing. This huge army amassing on Blake's side of the field.
I think this might be the turn to go for it. There's a Rashadin port to have never mana, but I'm not sure it's going to matter.
Yeah, I mean, what does that even do? He can still equip a Jite if he wants to.
Yeah. Mox Opal, okay, there's another card that gets hit by Thalia attacks.
That's true. Okay,
but it does come in untapped from the other Thalia, so win some, lose some.
Yeah, it kind of evens out, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, as we said earlier, Thalia you would expect to be doing a lot more work against any sort of tempo control shell.
The majority of decks, it's very, very strong against.
Yeah.
But this one, somewhat medium.
Yeah.
It's
interesting to see what Blake's plan here has been, holding back these creatures.
So defensive.
Coming in with just the one. Interesting, yep, chump block. Still doing combat damage.
I guess he knows, perhaps he feels that he's got this game locked up. He doesn't want to lose to something out of the blue he's not thinking about.
I suppose. Okay, Cameron gets the message.
That'll do.
His Thalia wouldn't be sticking around for very long anyway, thanks to that Jite, and they scoop him up. So, a really, really unfortunate game 1 for Cameron. Certainly feel for him, drawing those 3 cards that he probably would have wanted to see, those 3 Flicker Wisps.
Just not quite getting there.
Yep, just didn't have the lands to cast, which is kind of ironic, considering, when you're playing Eternal formats, you've got fetch lands, you've got all shocklands that you would want available. And when you're playing a mono-coloured deck like Death and Taxes, getting land screwed, that's pretty rare.
It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough, but it happens, unfortunately. Death and Taxes runs a fair amount of colour sources. So, what do you think the Death and Taxes player is looking at bringing in here?
I'm not really too sure, to be honest. If he's got access to Stony Silence, a rare occurrence perhaps, I think that would be quite good.
Absolutely. Otherwise, cards that I would be thinking of would be Artifact of Destruction, obviously. So Disenchants or perhaps...
Kataki's War's Wage might be a good option if he's got it in there. He's looking at a sword. No,
I believe he was looking at a Manriki Goosey, I think the name of the card is. Are those Holy Lights I see in the sideboard? I think a Holy
Potentially,
Light.
yeah.
Holy Light. Yeah, well, we've got it up on the screen now. But that is, I believe, a 3 or 2 mana spell that gives all non-white creatures -1/-1.
Okay, it could do the trick if timed correctly, for sure. I think just looking at his sideboard and knowing that he's got some cards that probably do want to come out.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to want to replace those with something. It looks like he's just got 3 options there that he's chosen.
3 cards for that. So that equipment he just put into his deck, do you know what that one does?
The equipment? Was it the sword?
No, I believe it's called Manriki something.
No.
It's, so, hang on, we'll bring it up real quick like, but it'll be up on the screen for these guys. I don't have a keyboard on this computer.
Here we go, we can use modern technology, smartphones. We can do this.
Alright, but basically you can unequip it from one of your creatures to destroy one of your opponent's pieces of equipment. Which,
right, okay.
I don't know, he saw that Jedi...
Artifact or pieces of equipment?
Specifically equipment.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So from the Hardened Scales point, this is a mono-green deck. What sort of things is he bringing in?
It's definitely a good question. It looks like he's siding out some Ancient Stirrings. He's looking at a Karn. The Karn Scion, potentially to come in.
That makes sense. That's good against the grindier control decks, for sure.
Alright, here we go. I've got this equipment up in front of me.
What a spicy
Equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has tap to destroy target equipment.
There you go.
Only 1 to equip. Yeah, okay, I could see that being somewhat useful.
I don't know, there's only 1 Jedi in the deck.
Yeah,
usually.
I mean, you take what you can get. If you've got it in your sideboard and you've got 4 or even up to 8 what you think are rubbish cards, you got to bring in something better than that.
That's true, yeah. A card normally made for the Death and Taxes mirrors. But, so on the other side, what will be coming in from the Hardened Scale side? I'm thinking perhaps some form of artifact disruption of his own, because there's a lot of swords, there's Aether Vials.
Yeah, Aether Vial is obviously a threat. Would have been pretty good in that game. An instant speed Aether Vial to flash in a Flicker Wisp definitely makes combat pretty difficult.
Yep, absolutely insane. So, what other... Well, I'm trying to think of what cards I play on the modern side that would be good in this matchup. There's honestly not a huge amount.
Yeah, it's not too much. I mean, I usually play tempo or control shells, and against hardened scales, you're bringing an artifact hate, of course.
Yep.
Against death and taxes, you're trying to bring in some more of those cheaper sweepers. If you can sort of get an early advantage, a little bit of spot removal is quite good too. Trying to take out some of those key pieces early. For me, playing against Death and Taxes, I'm just trying to dodge Thalia, man. As soon as they play that, I've basically lost the game.
Yeah.
They get too much of an advantage and they curve out from there. So, I mean, both decks have some really explosive draws possible to them. Hardened Scales, I'd say, probably has bigger nut draws, you could call them.
Yeah, less disruptive, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Karn Sign of Ezra is something to consider from the Hardened Scale side. It's maybe not good because like your opponent is running Wastelands and Ports, so putting a 4-mana card in your deck maybe not necessarily good, but if it hits the board, then it's ridiculously powerful. It's slow, it's grindy, it makes massive creatures that... it's definitely the kind of card you want to resolve against Death and Taxes. Whether you think you can or not is a different question.
Yeah, I mean, whether it sticks or not as well is a bit of an option, but if you've got somewhat of a board state and you can make that artifact creature, that thing can be pretty huge as well. Sometimes it's just enough to get you there. So as a Hardened Scales player yourself, what would you be siding out personally in this matchup?
I would be Ooh, that's a good question. Again, I don't know the Legacy deck quite as well, but the modern version runs usually 2 or 3 welding jars, which I don't think which would not be very good in this matchup at all. I don't know if the Legacy deck runs that. Possibly some number of Steel Overseers, because they're just the slowest card, and I assume that my friend's bringing in a lot of removal.
Yeah.
You could take out a Mox Opal if you'd like.
Okay.
Simply because you don't need the speed against a slow deck like this.
Sure.
Alright, looks like...
I think I spied one in Blake's hand, that Mox Opal you were talking about, potentially.
Yeah, you definitely want a certain number of them. You don't board them all out, but... alright, so it looks like both players are keeping.
Yep.
Okay.
Both players are keeping. Man on the play. Just opens with an Uluru Plains.
Beautiful.
One of the Australian cycles there. No play though. A little bit worrying perhaps, considering he lost game 1. Having some sort of turn 1 play. Aether Vial obviously is probably what you're looking for.
To be fair, he will have boarded out a few of his turn 1 plays, being the Mother of Runes. But it looks like a Sword Splasher is his hand, which will do a lot of work.
Yep, that'll be nice. So he's got a second land here that he can slam. He's got the option of Stoneforge Mystic. I'm not sure what else he has, but I mean, still a good turn 2 play.
Yep. There is a Thalia in his hand as well.
Interesting.
But he's looking at that Stoneforge.
Yeah, I think on an open board, getting your Stoneforge down, just for the pure raw potential that it has.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we know that he put that artifact equipment into his deck earlier. What do you see him tutoring here?
I see a Batterskull.
Okay, you see a Batterskull. Yeah. Fair.
No, I mean, even if he doesn't really know how many... Okay, if he assumes his opponent's playing 2 or 3 G-Days on that, then that's a big assumption. I don't think you want to tutor it up immediately, because it's not good on its own, right? It's only good when they have it. So just
that's true.
Batterskull.
Yeah. It's it's that raw potential that I was talking about. So straight to hand. Yep, so for Blake, he's got this impending threat here of this unchecked Stoneforge Mystic.
And Blake needs some time to set up. He's probably going to play a Mimic this turn, I'm assuming. Which will... he needs a couple turns to get things rolling.
Yep.
Oh, there is that... Phyrexian Revoker is an option here.
That could be a pretty good play here. This seems to be what he's going with. Naming Stoneforge Mystic, I'm told.
Good choice. Very good choice.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Getting the Mox Opal down. Unfortunately, he can't make full use of that. Again, we were talking before about those potential explosive draws so far. It's not looking too good for Blake. No Hardened Scales. He's got no Steel Overseer. Pretty slow start, I would say.
And Cameron's picked up another Stoneforge Mystic. Luckily for him, he does have that Swords to Plowshares. But if he swords this, then he's not swordsing something that can be explosive in the later game. Right?
Sure.
This Revoker is going to slow him down, but it's not going to kill him. And I don't know if
that's true.
Is the Batterskull worth it?
I mean, it seems to be the line that he's going for here. He's going to pass the turn, holding up all 3 mana. I mean, what could Blake really be wondering he's got here? There's not a lot of instant speed stuff coming out of Death and Taxes. So, I mean, you could make assumptions.
He's got a good shot of that Stoneforge tapping this turn, I think.
It's definitely a consideration that Blake needs to go through.
But Patrick on 4 mana is quite impactful. The deck runs a lot of 2-drops.
Jono?
Yes. Sorry. That's what I meant, Jono. Our old friend Jimmy here, he's running a lot of 2-drops in his deck. In fact, his hands, I think, is entirely 2-drops perhaps. And being able to deploy 2 of those on turn 3 is very, very strong.
Yeah, it'll be actually really interesting here to see if Cameron does this in response to the cast.
Steel Overseer is an interesting choice. So there's a lot of ways you can go here. You can go for the Hangerback Walker for the more resilient play. You can go for the Steel Overseer for the more, I guess, explosive play in the long term. And there is the swords.
Okay. I mean, pretty strong. I mean, Blake's going to be expecting this Batterskull to come down because that's what he's seen. Okay, plays the Mimic, names Construct.
Now this is weird. This is, I believe, Steel Overseer is a construct. Okay, now there's a fun trick you can't do in Modern. You can't play a Hangback Walker on 0 and get a counter on it with your Metallic Mimic.
Wow.
That is a fun trick you can't do. I believe Steel Overseer is a construct, so I'm not quite sure what the sequencing was there. It was a little bit odd to me, but nonetheless.
Well, considering the Hangerbacks came in with a +1/+1 counter.
That part in... Oh, mate. 0 mana 1/1s, that's me. That's all I want. That's all I want. I miss my Mem Knights.
Yeah, well, that's the first card I thought of.
Oh, yeah. Mem Knights with upside. Very strong.
Yeah, huge upside potential there. So here we go. We've got the Battle Skull coming down. End of turn for Cameron. Yeah. Untaps, and he's looking at a grip. He's got a lot of good cards here.
Again, he's just a little short on mana. One extra mana, and he could put that Sword of Fire and Ice onto one of his creatures, on his Battle Skull perhaps. He could play Gideon, but he's just a little bit off.
Yeah, so he's chosen to keep in those Thalias. Again, I mean, maybe he had not much else in his sideboard to really help with this matchup. Chooses to go straight for an attack with the Battle Skull. No mucking around from Blake.
And like I said before, he decided to Swords the disruptive creature, but not the one that's going to kill him. And looking at this board, this Steel Overseer is going to kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
If he'd saved that thing, he wouldn't have a Battle Skull on the field, true, but the Steel Overseer would not be insane.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a play that Cameron could have made last turn, rather than simply passing with 3 mana open, he could have played the Thalia in his hand, still keeping Swords to Plowshares open. No, he couldn't have done that, because that taxes himself.
Work, yeah,
no, you're right.
But nonetheless, yeah, it's a play that he decided to make, and he's maybe getting a little bit punished by it.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this all turns out.
Whoosh, there's the big boy Ravager. He is that's the one you want to see. The end of this chain of creatures, Ravager is the one you want.
Yeah, with the Steel Overseer in the mix, it's looking pretty dark again.
It looks like Jono may have missed a counter because his.
If he's cast it for 2, yep.
The Ravager is definitely a construct. So it should have 2 counters on it at this point.
Interesting. That's a good pickup on that one.
Nonetheless, I believe he actually borrowed this deck as well. He seems to be doing pretty well. There's the thing with this deck is it's easy to throw your hand on the field, but there's a lot of intricate lines, a lot of synergies that you sort of need to know. Okay, what is the best way to go about
Absolutely.
this?
I mean, it's a deck where sequencing can really reward a bit of thinking that goes into your plays.
Absolutely.
And yeah, those synergies that you're talking about, that sequencing definitely comes into play with that one. Mm-hmm. So here we're doing a little bit of calculations here.
1 counter.
And simply passes the turn. Interesting. So is there a reason last turn that when Cameron played that Sword of Fire and Ice, Blake didn't actually respond with the Steel Overseer?
I mean, there's no reason to. You can do it at any time, right?
Sure. But he's simply untapped.
Yeah. I mean, well, he can still activate the Steel Overseer during Cameron's turn if he needs to.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He chose not to do that. He just...
No, absolutely. Yeah, so there's no great hurry. There is a benefit. If your opponent's entirely tapped down, and you can activate the Overseer before they have, like, a shock or a bolt. But in a matchup where those cards don't exist, it's not as straightforward.
Sure. So here, Cameron's actually faced with yet another decision. We've got the Sword on the field, which is obviously 2 mana to equip. You've got a Thalia in your hand, that's all your mana. Alternatively, he's looking at a Gideon ally of Zendikar.
I mean, I don't know. Jono might be a bit going a bit wide, honestly.
Yeah, well, obviously Gideon's going to be a pretty great card in that sort of instance where
I don't know.
If Blake's trying to go around the side, Gideon can sort of make that a little more difficult.
I don't know, man. I think Blake is going too wide for that. So if he activates his Steel Overseer in this in Cameron's end step here, puts a 3rd counter on that Hangback Walker, sacrifices it to his Ravager, suddenly he's got 3 flying creatures.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're not constructs, unfortunately they're Thopters, but that'd be really good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's a cherry on top.
I feel like the Gideon would just die very, very quickly.
Yeah, interesting.
But nonetheless, so this is the line he's chosen. Oh, okay, there is a sacrifice here. Now, again, there's that sequencing. He has not activated his Steel Overseer. He's just tapped his dude, put a counter on it, and sacked him to his Ravager.
Yeah, I think it could just be an oversight, having borrowed the deck, not getting enough runs in it. Choosing to sacrifice it, though, counter on the Ravager just to make a chump blocker. It's not a terrible play.
It's not necessarily the wrong play also. So he's basically chosen to have a 2/2 flyer in play at the end of turn instead of 2 1/1 flyers.
Sure.
Right, that's the choice he's made. Whether that's right or not, I'm not sure. I really don't know.
I like the flyers, honestly.
Yeah.
I think in this instance, considering the board state, you've got a Stoneforge Mystic on the floor, you've got a Battle Skull on the floor. having some flyers just to get in some damage and maybe try and outweigh a bit of that lifelink that's going to be coming through in the Batterskull. Might be a good strategy.
Yeah, well, the Ravager is very, very good at getting rid of that. Like we just saw, there was a block, and then it was the blocking creature was sacrificable for damage dealt, so Cameron didn't gain any life. So this Batterskull may have some trouble getting through.
Yeah, that's a bit of an engine that he can milk out for a little bit of time here. Obviously, with that second hangerback Walker, it's going to load up on counters. He can do that a lot more times.
There's another Steel Overseer.
That's rough. Not gonna lie, that's pretty rough for our hero.
Yeah, the Death and Taxes players is just not quite there. Unfortunately, this Batterskull, a 6/6 normally, a 6/6 lifelink, vigilance, pro red, pro blue, draws cards, shocks things. Usually, this card is insane in any matchup, but right now it's just not getting there.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate. I mean, Cameron obviously put a lot of faith into this strategy here. Perhaps underestimating Blake's ability to play this borrowed deck. But Blake's really turning up with the goods.
Now, I can think of one card that Cameron can draw that would just blow this game right out of the water.
Go on.
Cataclysm.
Oh.
I did see it in his sideboard.
Interesting.
Which we've got up on the screen, but I believe it's each player chooses one permanent of each type and then sacrifices the rest.
The rest, yeah.
Oh man, that would be insane. You can't look. Ravager can't play around that. Okay, that's not true. Ravager can play around that to an extent. You just put everything on the Ravager. But then if there's a swords or something, it's over, right?
It's a bit of a feel bad, but I mean, for 4 mana, it's going to be pretty much doing what you want it to be doing.
Yeah, I feel if Cameron draws that Cataclysm, this game might be short up on his side. But I think it's about the only thing he can draw that will get him there. Honestly,
absolutely. You can see here Blake with his arms crossed there, reclined back in his chair, feeling pretty good about the matchup. And poor Cameron, he's definitely sweating it out here.
Thalia comes down.
Yep, another attack coming in for the Batterskull.
Again, he's missed that Steel Overseer activation.
Yeah, getting a little more value out of it. I mean, actually, maybe, but I mean, there's a lot of these Thopter tokens coming down.
No, actually, this time he's actually putting more flying damage on the air this way. So he gains 6 flying power at the end of this turn, as opposed to 4 if he'd done it the other way around.
I think it's going to be more than 6 because he's got 2 Steel Overseers there.
Yeah, okay. So in his next turn, he can activate twice and put another 6 counters on those guys, 4 counters on those guys.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty close to lethal, I would say.
With a Ravager, yeah. If your opponent taps out, I mean, you just go for it, right? But if your opponent doesn't tap out, maybe you assume they have a swords to play shares, you play a bit slower. But if Cameron decides to tap out here, I think that might be the game.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Blake's going for a little bit of the extra value there, activating his Blink Moth Nexus. Or is that an Ink Moth? I can't quite tell. It's a Nexus.
It's a Blink Moth, I believe.
Yeah, one of the two.
Oh, we've run out of red dice. We've gone with the yellow ones now. This is one of those board states. I've had this so many times myself where did I put a counter on this creature yet? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit messy. His graveyard's starting to head over back in towards the battlefield.
There's counters everywhere.
I mean, it's a good problem to have, let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's great.
Yeah.
Makes me...
No mucking around for Blake. Just slams the land there that he's drawn, arranging his Cruel Ultimatum mana.
Getting close. All right, that looks like 2 activations of Steel Overseers.
Yep, sure does. All right, so no responses from Cameron. Obviously, all tapped out. Got nothing left to play with.
Let's do some
Here
counting.
comes the counters. Yep.
I count 4, 8, 12, 17 in the air, I believe.
Yep.
That's a lot of damage. I mean, Cameron is completely tapped out. Patrick is... If Patrick goes for it, I don't think there's anything that Cameron can do. I can't think of any 0 mana spells that will get him out of here. There's no Submerge or anything that can sneak up.
No, I mean, even if you're casting Submerge in this situation, it's pretty rough. I mean, you've got the Thalia there, so it's not like you're representing anything.
Yeah.
It's just going to be straight combat damage. Here we go, sacking the Ravager, puts it on the Thopter, and that's enough to close the game.
That's it. Well done, Jono. Well done.
Well done, Jono. Yeah.
And that is the match.
Yep. Great job to both players. Cameron's new player to Legacy, I'm told. Looks like he's playing quite a strong deck, but it's just that's the way it goes sometimes. The deck certainly has potential to crush. I know I've been crushed by Death and Taxes many times before. It's just down to variance, I suppose.
It's not the matchup we want to see, unfortunately. Yeah, well played by both players. There was a lot of choices. Like both players had a lot of options through the entire game, and it seems like each choice they made sort of had a very big impact. Honestly,
Absolutely.
The Death and Taxes player especially. There's a lot of things he could have done differently. I don't know if they would have helped or not, but yeah, there's that Manriki Goosey. Oh, what a terrible Kamigawa card that is. Like just. Out of all the Kamigawa cards, I'm very disappointed. That's the one that Death and Taxes is like, yeah, I need this. This is what I want. This is what I need.
Yeah, I mean it's not a great feeling, Anyway, great for both players to turn up here playing a featured match. Great to see some new players to the format. As I said before, the format's really up and coming.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. I've been Tyrone.
My name's David.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks.